So, hello everyone. I welcome you all to this amazing, epic series that we are beginning today on the Sacred Indian Tarot with the author herself, Kiren Rai, as our special guest for this entire episode of series. So, first of all, I'll just give a short introduction to her, and then we'll ask ma'am to tell a little bit more about herself. So, Kiran ma'am was born in Uganda, East Africa, and now she mostly lives in New Delhi with her husband, and where she seeks to lead a holistic balance in the mind, body, and the spirit space. She has been conducting tarot readings and workshops in Kenya and New Delhi for the last 25 years. She's a professional tarot reader, a chakra healer, and an author. Her deep interest in the Vedanta and the Hindu mythology inspired her to create the Sacred Indian Tarot, the first ever and hand painted deck of Indian tarot cards. So, we are very pleased and very obliged to have you with us on our collaboration. So, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay, first let me tell you that I'm so excited to be with you all. This is my very first Insta whatever because I'm not very social media savvy, so this is like really exciting for me. So I think you've said most of it in the introduction, but let me add a little bit more. Is that I am also an art curator, and I think the Hindu scriptures, the Vedanta, the Bhagavad Gita, the tarot, they're just a great passion for me. And so I think I've been doing the tarot now for the last 25, 30 years. And, I published this book about 10 years ago. And I can't tell you how encouraging the support for this book has been worldwide. And I get so many people writing mails to me and telling me that they entered a bookshop and they saw the book and it just appealed, calls to them and so forth and so on. So I've had a really encouraging response for the book all over the world, and I really can't thank you all enough.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we are actually very much blessed to have this interaction, so that we can get to know a little bit more about these cards, about this entire deck, and how it came into its existence. And yes, the entire series of 12 plus episodes is going to be on the Sacred Indian Tarot. That is how it came into conception, what does the card mean, and what is the story behind each and every card. So it's basically also a learning session for those who are really tarot enthusiasts and are interested and intrigued into the Indian philosophy. So yes, basically it's all about the tarot connection with the Indian culture and the Indian Vedantas and the Vedas and the mythology. So yes, this entire session is going to be based on it. Now, I would just ask a small question from Kiran ma'am. Like, what inspired, or how did you thought of creating this particular deck?
Okay, so, I travel a lot all over the world, and wherever I would go, I would collect a tarot book or a deck from whichever country I travel to. And I remember I was in Indonesia and I was seeing these Garuda cards. And that's when this thought came to me that, hey, how come we don't have an Indian tarot book or a tarot deck of cards? And so I think that's where the conception of the Sacred Indian Tarot happened. And then when I came back to India, I looked into creating a tarot deck. And I think it's kind of a divine calling because the cards just kept coming to me and it just moved on its own. So
Yeah.
I think whenever there is serendipity or there is a divine prompting, things just flow so easily. And
Yeah.
being an art curator, I got a lot of upcoming Indian artists to make the cards, and I also do a little bit of painting myself. So I kind of conceptualized the cards and gave it to a few artists to really fill up the details. And that's how pronto. It took me 2 years to
Oh,
create the book. Yeah, because the
yeah.
artwork and writing out the chapters and talking about the similarity between the sacred Indian tarot and a Celtic deck of cards, putting all that together took me almost 2 years.
Yeah. Then it must have been a tiring journey of 2 years. So
No, it
any
was like
yeah,
a labor of love. And it
yeah.
was so beautiful writing out the meaning of each card, finding an Indian archetype, and writing, about the mythology, finding the significance. It was just purely a labor of love. And
Definitely,
I do
definitely.
want to also add over here that, the journey of the fool
Yeah.
is very synonymous to what the Hindu scriptures talk about. Is aligning yourself to the super consciousness and aligning yourself to. So it all begins with, the first 7 cards of the major arcana are about the societal pressures or about finding your mentors or about growing up. The first 7 cards.
Mm, yeah.
The next 7 cards are all about finding your place in the world, getting to know yourself better. It's all about self reflection and finding your space in the world. And the next lot of 21 cards, 7 and 7 and 7, is about aligning yourself to the supernatural, the superconscious. So I think that is something that is really a very intrinsic part of the Hindu mythology. So
Yeah.
let me just read out a little bit more and explain this to the Western
Yes,
viewers.
definitely.
Is that you have 3 cycles, and as I said, that in Hindu mythology, the first cycle is called the brahmacharya, the phase where a young student he acquires knowledge about,
Mhm.
he has a mentor in a mother figure, a father figure, the hierophant. So I kind of associate that with the scriptures where that phase is the brahmacharya phase. The second phase is the grihastha, which is the householder. It's also about the journey of finding out who we are. And the third and the fourth phase are the vanaprastha, beginning from the hermit, and it's about alignment with the superconscious. So, so I find that this is something that forms one of the most important tenets of the Hindu mythology, and it's also common to the journey of the fool. And
Definitely.
another concept that I think I want to dwell on is that in the Vedanta, which is the Bhagavad Gita, it's all about the dissolution of the self, the ego, right? And if you
Yeah.
look at it, you begin your journey as the fool and you end it in the world. So it's a completion from um, from the I am to the dissolution of the I am, the ego, and merging with the supreme consciousness. So that really is the journey of the tarot. It's a spiritual journey. And all the cards that you get are actually flag signs telling you where you are. in your journey and how you can evolve to another step forward. That, I think, is the purpose of the tarot. And yes, it is becoming egoless. When you stop associating with your mind, your spirit, and your thoughts, that's when you become complete. That's
Definitely.
the meaning of the tarot.
Yeah. Okay. So, what is a piece of advice that you would like to give to the people who are the beginners, or we can say who are the first buyers of this deck? Well, like what should they expect while approaching to these cards? Like, what should be their approach?
Okay, so I think that for an Indian buyer, it would be very easy because they all understand the archetypes, the gods, the goddesses, the icons, the symbolism of Hindu mythology. It's fairly easy
Definitely.
for a Indian follower of the book. But for the um, the Western followers and fans of this book, I would say that look at the imagery and try and associate with the imagery of the cards, and they'll speak to you. So the tarot it's all about intuition. You know, it's all about connecting. So connect with the cards and try and understand them. And they'll read out these all universal archetypes. So they'll speak to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And wherever you're getting stuck, the explanation is pretty precise. So you can read. Each card has a saga. Read the saga of the card, read the meaning, the interpretation, and you'll understand the card.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, it's absolutely true. I mean, that is the best way to read cards. Not from a book, which is very useful for beginners, but intuitively. Just tune in to a shape, a colour, and then you can skeleton read the meaning of Major Arcana, definitely. But it's really lovely to know the background behind Indian philosophy and this particular tarot deck. So we're very
Yeah.
excited every week for you to come along and just give your interpretation of what you've learned from each of the guards and the elephant and the hanging rope and all these things. We kind of know as readers what they are, but we just love to hear what the author has to say about each one of those cards. So do stay tuned, people, for a lovely personal, because it's always good to hear the author story behind the image that is on that particular card. But yes, you should definitely 100% use our intuition and not go by, like, say for instance, somebody could go, this is the Chariot. Oh, I bought a really nice car back in 1950, and this is why there's an image of a car on here. But it's nice to hear the author's, back history, and then we can pick up our own why this particular car is on this card. I know there isn't a car on the card, but you get my drift, don't you?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And I feel the cards have drawn their inspiration not only from the Hindu texts but also from the Buddhist texts. So, what is the story behind that? Would you like to throw some
Well,
light upon it?
I just think the card Tara, which is
Yeah.
the star, is Buddhist.
Star. Yes.
That's the exception, but otherwise, most of them are not from
From the Hindu.
with the exception of Tara.
Yeah. Yeah. And what
she's
were the like? Yeah.
She's the perfect goddess of the shining hope, fulfillment. It's just so beautiful. It's been to
Definitely,
star
it's like one of my most favorite cards in the entire deck to have, and
Yeah.
I think I think that's what the explanation also says, that it's the best card in the entire deck.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
But
it does.
my favorite card is the moon. Like, and that's something that I created on my own, so I'm rather proud of it. But I'm also very fond of the moon card. Yes, I think it's so haunting and magical.
Yes, it's magnificent. It's magical. It's like so. We can say it's so charming. Way, it casts its charm upon you. So we would definitely like to know what is the real story behind this image of the moon in the coming episodes.
We're going to do
Yeah.
that when we do the card series individually.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
We're going to do that each card
Absolutely.
individually.
I'm
Because,
sorry, we're
Yes.
not taking
according to
questions
me,
at the
the moon
moment.
card is Maya. It's illusion. Okay? So,
Okay. Yeah.
when I explain each card, I will explain what Maya and illusion is. And how, when you get the moon card, it's like you evoke the moon card when I think your spiritual guides are trying to tell you that you are delusional, or you need to look at the reality of it. So we'll discuss each card when we pick it out and do the series.
Yes. Yes.
But
Definitely.
a few more things about the Indianness of the cards for our Western audience, especially, is
Yes.
that
Please.
the tarot cards do have their precedence in India, because that's what is believed, that we have the Ganjifa cards, which were used by the Mughal emperors in the 13th century. And that is where you can trace the tarot.
Oh,
So it's very interesting that the Ganjifa cards are the predecessors of tarot cards, the Tarotji. And another thing that I want to talk about is that the gypsies also, who propagated tarot in Eastern Europe, are also supposed to be exiled from India and traveled and settled in Europe. So you see, the tarot is a very strong yogini, a very strong Shakti, and the feminine aspect of the tarot is extremely strong. And
yeah.
that comes from the gypsies or the bandaras, who were a tribe in India, and they were exiled and they traveled to Eastern Europe. So this is the connection with the tarot cards to India.
Yeah. And I feel like it was really very needed, and I think what you've done is the best thing that any Indian person could ever contribute to the tarot cards is by creating the Indian cards, because
Yes,
when having
I
no
do feel great that I've left it's 10 years to the book now, and it's still, so popular all over the world. And I mean, I don't know how that's happened. And I'm getting inspired to write about, well, it's almost written, so I just have to complete it. Is these 7 chakras and the 7 minds and the Vedanta cards. So I hope I'll be able to do them this year, definitely.
definitely, and we'll be really looking forward to have them in our hands someday soon.
Absolutely.
Beth, I want to ask you that what made you pick up these cards, and how did you pick them up, and how do you associate with them?
Absolutely. So I've always been a kind of, right, my background is sometimes as a seeker of spirituality, you never know what direction will guide you into true spirituality. So, born in a Christian house, my brother became a Christian at age 7. And eventually he dragged me to church. But there's no answers. I used to go to a kind of, it was called Pathfinders, and I asked, where is heaven? And the teacher said, don't be so stupid, why you ask it? Basically. I thought, I'm looking for spirituality, where's your answer? No one can answer. So I drifted on. I drifted on into martial arts and all sorts of things. And reading became one of those things. I read in New Zealand, what's that book called? A biography of a yogi. I mean, that was just brilliant.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's right. And I've read The Duel of Discrimination and the Upanishads, and Indian philosophy was so good. Can't read the language, but I'm learning from Tarot's talk. But it is funny how you guys do. So when I moved from England to New Zealand, I did body, mind, and spirit in karate. You know, you come together in a focus, bing. And then I was still not really getting whatever, and I saw this course for tarot. So I thought, yeah. And then when I joined, I thought, yeah, this makes so much sense. You know what I mean? And I just love a lot of decks, but I do love the Indian philosophy, and it is very close to the ultimate truth. You know, so much of it makes sense. There's a lot of Chinese philosophy as well, and it's just about simple. Human beings always complicate things. So, yes, it's so right that you're saying the full journey through the major arcana is vital, because it's like the 12 fingers of Hercules, whatever it's called, and it's practically the same. It does go through the lessons of each card, so it's all symbolism, and it's all an analogy for what we go through as a human being. So it makes sense to me. I've read for people. I really. Yeah, I know that's a long-winded explanation, and there is a lot more to it. But I just got into tarot because did I find it interesting, or did the hand of God come and pick me up and go boom? So it's always the cart before the horse syndrome, but absolutely, you know, it makes sense. I mean, I did a reading on your cards today for Instagram viewers. Without a word of a lie, I wish I'd filmed it. So I'm shuffling the cards. What do we need for the full moon today? Brought the moon, brought death, brought temperance. So it's almost like it's literal. The tarot is very literal, isn't it?
Okay. I think there's another thought that is coming to me is that the tarot is also a regenerative process, which you know your life and birth is also regenerative. So you know every time you get thrown into the cosmos and back into life, you're actually picking up and coming to a better place because your soul is getting evolved and transformed and regenerated. So that is the purpose also of the journey. And that is probably one of the most important aspects, the karma theory in Hindu mythology. So, and look, is there some sound coming in from somewhere, Vinayak? Beth, can you hear some kind of a squeaky noise?
Yeah, it's a terrible, annoying sound. It
Yeah,
sometimes
well,
comes from.
it's sometimes with the Instagram thing. So
Okay. Okay, so you know, as we take each card, like you talk about justice, you talk about judgment. You know, it's like what you sow is what you reap, and it's such
Absolutely.
an important tenet of the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita. So, I personally, when I see each card, and when we go into each one of them, I feel it's the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita speaking out to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And Also, it's about changing. I just got a comment over here, and somebody said, "How does one become a healer?"
Yeah.
And I think you become a healer when you can get people to change their negative thought process or thoughts that sabotage them and become positive. And the tarot can help you do that, with affirmations. It can guide you into a right direction. So, as a healer, how do you heal people is by giving them affirmations, by making them more positive, and about making them feel good about themselves. That's what healing is all about.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Definitely.
Thank you
Yeah.
I
for,
read, yes, I know
yeah,
you asked, I'm reading, and that's why I thought I would answer what this query was, and how
Yeah.
do you become a
yeah.
healer?
I'm
Yeah.
pretty
That's
sure at the end of the series we'll have lots of questions. This was only a short introduction for you. I mean, anyone can follow you, ask you personal questions. This section, this series, this epic series, it's just to look at these fantastic cards.
yeah.
But yeah, it's great that the viewers are asking questions. For sure, but we are on a
Yeah.
limited time. We do have to appreciate that it's Indian time and it is after midnight over there. So,
Okay,
yeah.
so Vinay, would you like to tell us how we're going to go on into the next couple of episodes? And Bev is going to talk about the Celtic aspect of the tarot, and I'm going to talk about the Indian aspect, right, Bev?
Absolutely. I mean, we can do it alternate or whatever. But what the viewers really want to know is each of your story behind each card.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we can do that in another series. But for the
We will.
first series, especially when you said the Fool and those 3 stages of life, I mean, it's fascinating subject, and people really don't appreciate just how involved tarot is. But the major arcana, it's so involved. So we absolutely understand why you did the major arcana just in one box, because it is involved and will answer everyone's questions. So that's the purpose of this series, but we can definitely do something for our next series.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. So
And
this entire series is going to be dedicated to the cards, to the
Yeah.
significance that they hold, to Kiran ma'am, to Bev, and to me. What our personal views are, and what is the concept behind each card. So that's how
Absolutely.
this entire series is going to be.
Yeah.
And yes, we would be answering some questions if they are related to the deck. We would
Yeah.
answer only those questions. Other spiritual questions will be answered later.
Yeah.
Okay, so her name is
Rai.
her.
I get a question saying, what is your
Yes,
name? So I'm Kiren
yeah,
Rai.
yes.
We all
She's
forgot.
Kiran Rai, the author of this particular deck, available worldwide. Yeah.
That's the author, guys. Very privileged.
Yes.
And so am I. I mean, this is so lovely that you guys are organizing this, and it's a great
Yeah.
opportunity.
So this will be a weekly event, people. We don't know the time or the day of next week. We will let you know. So do make sure you follow Tarot's Talk and Pure Joy Tarot _Bev, and for the next episode.
Yes, and also honest tarot reader Kiran Rai. Her Instagram account is mentioned in my recent posts. You can go and check there and follow her, and she updates you with her tarot journey. So you can be a part of that journey as well. So uh, before we end, like, would you like to uh, let people know what were the references, like apart from Bhagavad Gita and the Vedanta? What were the references where the cards are drawing their inspiration from?
Okay,
Just a small
so they
sneak peek.
just, I did read, as you said, the autobiography of a yogi, and that impacted me. I went to the Ramana ashram, I went to Coimbatore, which is Sadhguru's ashram, and I learned inner engineering.
Mm.
There is this, I like Joe Dispenza from the US. He has had a great impact on my life, where, he has told you, explained to you how the brain works, and how your neuropaths can actually determine the way your entire life is. And that particular thing is also mentioned in the Vedanta. So I think all these influences, well, I was pretty much an armchair philosopher for many years of my life. I mean, I would just read everything from Carl Jung to Plato to Aristotle to anything that I could lay my hands on. And then I started reading the Bhagavad Gita. I've been following the Vedanta for the last 6-7 years now. So I would say all of this gave birth to this book. All these impulses over the last 20 years of my life is what was responsible for the creation of this book.
Yes. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So then, what are your views after using this deck for about a month? I guess you're using it for about a month now.
Absolutely. Well, in my experience, it does kind of help knowing what the major arcana cards are. So that's a huge plus. And I love it. I absolutely love them. They're absolutely fine. And what I particularly like is that they've got the Tree of Life on the back, where Buddha sat on the Bodhi tree and got enlightened. So this is absolutely fine.
That's very clever. Yes.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I know a lot of cards do that, but if you look at the Tree of Life, or a tree as a family, as a Ten of Pentacles, it doesn't matter what side it is. Family always stick together. How nice is that? So this is really good. We have our roots in the earth, and we're a spiral with the branches to the sky. So this is a fantastic, universal, international symbol that everyone can relate to. Don't you think? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And these images are like, I have been I would say earlier I used to be a religious person instead of being a spiritual one. But now when I yeah, they do different things, and that's why it actually, each image of this, it calls out even more. Like when you have been there, when you have been to that zone, it actually calls you out more, connects more. And I definitely like the quality of these cards. They're amazing, so hard, and literally like a must buy, I would say. Yes. And yes, this book as well, I would like to show. If people haven't seen this book, it is very easily openable, readable,
It's
bright, vibrant, and
gold.
entire color. Yes, definitely an entirely colored book, and all the colored cards in a very hardbound cover. So that's what actually makes it even more interesting to have it in your collection and use it. So if you still haven't got a pack, yeah, and if you still haven't got this deck, yeah, well used. Yeah. So before we conclude this session, would you like to draw?
No, hold on. Shraddha Pavika 10 has the deck. Yay!
Oh, great!
Yeah, fantastic. How are you finding the deck? All right, great.
What is the price this is? Oh,
it's $690.
It's very reasonable. I don't know how much it sells for abroad, but in India, how much is it for now?
Its list price is $695, and on Amazon it's available quite much on a very reasonable price. Like you can definitely, yeah, something like that.
We're always
so definitely,
and every pack is different.
I can read what you're writing. So the next session onwards, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take each card, beginning from the Fool. I'm going to explain the Indian significance of the card, and I'm going to explain the Celtic significance, and so is Beth. So we're going to do a comparison, and we're going to also explain that if you get, say, the Fool card, how do you, what are the combinations? Do you understand if you get the Fool card in a relationship reading, in a financial reading, in a health reading? So I think we'll take up the implications of each card in a reading as well, and compare it and try and explain them to you.
Great idea. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So when you have the cards out, would you like to give us a collective message through these cards?
Should I just
Put on the spot.
Oh, well. Okay, so we've got the Hanged Man.
Okay. Yeah, I got to see. Yeah.
That's such a great card, people.
So my message to everybody is that a lot of people here associate with the archetype of being the martyr or the victim. And please don't be a martyr or a victim. Rise out of that, be a survivor and a warrior. That's the message.
Yeah, definitely.
Would you like to give a message on this as well, Bev and Vinay?
Yeah, we're on, believe it or not, guys, we're on the full moon tonight. We're full moon in Leo, and things are good to be released. So traditionally, the Hanged Man is to wait and seemingly sacrifice yourself, but theoretically, it's taking time out to realize the divine power. So when we've got the full moon, we need to release certain aspects. So some people have to get outside their box and their environment to take time to realize that we are more than our little bodies. We can, rise up, so to speak, to the divine power. And that's what it is. Also, on a true spiritual journey, you do have to die a little. So, dying thoughts, feelings, all those things that are no longer serving you. So, on the full moon, with the Hanged Man, just kill it off. Release it, let it go, start again. Sorry to be blunt about it, but that's what it is. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Beautifully said.
Sorry?
Yeah.
I said that's so beautifully said.
Oh,
Don't limit yourself with what you know. Expand with what your potential is all about.
Yeah, definitely. It's also about not being one to be sacrificing all the time. You are that haziness, that as you say, delusion is not forever. It's just a phase, and it will pass away. You just need to stand still, let the things flow away. So that's what I guess. And also this Hangman, again, as you said, being a martyr and always having that image and giving up upon the things. So this should always not be done. Sometimes you should be always keeping yourself on the forefront, and that's what sometimes is actually required.
And by being a martyr, you're giving away your power bit by bit.
Definitely.
Transform that to being a survivor, to being able to take care of yourself, to being proud of whatever you are, and to being the best of your potential. That's
Absolutely. And this is where one philosophy of one culture it's good, but it's good to adapt a little more, like the Zen way of living in the moment. I mean, let's face it, Buddha taught that. Buddha knows exactly that's how you get enlightened. And to be enlightened, you do have to sacrifice many things, and you have to die. Not physically die, but with the bodies of letting go. So things that we let go of, or we seemingly sacrifice, is the past and is the future, because we only have the now. And people fear the hanged man significantly, and it should be embraced so much, because if the universe is telling you you've got the hanged man, enjoy it. Take the time out. Really connect to who you really are on a soul level. This is what true tarot is all about. This is the journey of your existence.
And I think it's such an appropriate moment to get the hangman, especially with what's happening in the world with COVID. So, it's just that fun. Yes.
Definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure we've kept you long enough, because you did say you were I go to bed early kind of girl.
Yes. Definitely. So yes.
And we will come on earlier next time.
Yeah. Definitely. So
It's been a lot of fun. Thank you so much. And then bye-bye.
Yeah, definitely. So this was it for this session, first session of the Tarot Talks on the Sacred Indian Tarot. And we'll continue to have these episodes a long way in the coming weeks. And yes, thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you for all your comments. And thank you, Kiren ma'am and Bev, for joining this session. And especially to the author herself to be on our show.
Thank you so much. See you next week.
Thank you. Thank you.